Hello and welcome to The Big Picture. The Congress party has refused to take the bait. It has decided that it will not nominate a prime ministerial candidate going into the Lok Sabha elections. The Narendra Modi versus Rahul Gandhi mega battle, which had been envisaged by the BJP, has sought to be played down by the Congress, which declared Rahul as the chief of the campaign committee. The AICC session today saw the elevation of Rahul Gandhi to the campaign committee chief, whose responsibility it is now to lead the campaign of the party across the country. What will this mean to Rahul Gandhi himself and to the party? What will this elevation mean to the party, which is seen to be lagging behind after the sound defeat in the December assembly elections? What are the challenges that Rahul Gandhi will now face taking his party to the Lok Sabha elections and beyond? We will discuss all this today with Dilip Cherian, founder of Perfect Relations, Jayanta Ghoshal, editor, Bazaar Patrika, Bhavdeep, Kang, senior journalist. Welcome to all of you. Dilip, there was this impression which had gained ground over the last several months, maybe a couple of years also, that Rahul Gandhi is an outsider. Do you think today he has managed to overcome that image which he has as an outsider? Has he become an insider today?
I think so. I think that he made that move in 3 stages today. First, with his initial comments in the morning saying, I'm going to speak to you guys and I'll let you know what I think. Then he did a very smart thing when he started his speech by connecting with people saying, oh, I didn't see you guys sitting on the other side and hello, which is not characteristic of him. And third, the way he segued from English to Hindi, explaining why he was doing both. Which is,
was that necessary?
I think absolutely fundamental. Don't forget that Rahul Gandhi is more comfortable in English.
Yes.
And he wanted to do the power part of his speech and the content part of his speech, and we'll discuss that, I'm sure, in English, which he's more comfortable with. And then he wanted to do the rhetoric part of his speech in Hindi. So I think this segueing was visible, was deliberate, and was therefore useful.
Bhavdeep?
I don't think that any significant change took place today, because everything that he said, he has already said before in his Jaipur speech exactly 1 year before. If there was a change...
My question is this. Comparing Jaipur with today, do you think he connected with the cadre today better than what he did in Jaipur, or you think there was no difference?
He deployed the same tactics today that he deployed in Jaipur. This transition from Hindi to English, we saw that happen in Jaipur. This reaching out to party workers, we saw that happen in Jaipur. His speech was focused, clearly focused towards the party workers. So we didn't see any significant change in terms of substance.
What about him? The outsider becoming the insider. Now he's the campaign committee chief. He has all the responsibilities which he can ask for or could not have asked for also. So you think that he is now the insider. Now the responsibility is on him. He has taken it up with all confidence.
Look, let's face it, Rahul Gandhi has never been an outsider. He has always been the heir apparent. It was just a question of when he would take which responsibility.
He positioned himself as an outsider. Would you agree with that? That he had positioned himself as an outsider?
I would not agree with that. Ever since he took responsibility as party vice president in Jaipur, he has been an outsider. The future of the party has been his responsibility.
You mean he has been an insider?
Absolutely.
Jayanta?
No, I think there is a gradual improvement in Rahul's speech and strategy, because I was there at Jaipur also. Bhavdeep was also there that day, I remember. Rahul, you have to accept one basic fact, that the situation is not very happy hours for Congress.
Absolutely.
So in that context, you have to assess the speech. You without any contextual reference. If you analyze the Rahul speech, it's not only the content of the speech. The context is that it's a descending curve of Congress. It's a damage control exercise, and there's a strong anti-incumbency against the UPA Manmohan Singh-led government. So you are giving a attempt to project Rahul Gandhi's face to neutralize the discontent of the mass, which is actually acute. So, in that context, if you analyze what Dilip has said, I completely agree with him that Hindi, English, there is a strategy. Simultaneously India and Bharat. And Rahul is not comfortable with Hindi, but he is consciously, he is trying to address the not only the India International Center and Habitat Center to the mass, to the Bharat. So, I think there is a strategy, and whether it will work, what will be the in consequence, these are the other issues. We are discussing only the content and the strategy of Rahul's speech.
No, what about this outsider insider business?
Outsider, I am telling you what Bhavdeep is saying, that actually he is part and parcel of the Gandhi family and he is member of parliament, but he is not tested administrator, he was not a minister, he has become the vice president just in Jaipur session, and actually tactically he always tried to disassociate himself
from the government.
From the government.
Yes.
So he made lot of criticism. In fact, you just remember what happened with the ordinance issue.
Exactly.
So I think whether the tactics, whether that strategy is complementary to Congress in future will determine what future will be. But actually that is the Rahul strategy. But gradually Rahul has become insider now.
No.
Now he cannot say that I will not take the responsibility.
Yes, Dilip, you wanted to say something before. After that, I have a question.
I think that insider, he became in Jaipur, and I agree with Bhavdeep and Jaydeep on this, and Jayanta on this. But this is an insider who's also very tactfully introduced what I call a holding pattern. Because the concept of the primary and primaries, which is what he talked about.
We will come to that.
Okay.
That primary process, with the selection process of Lok Sabha candidate, will come to that. But before that, a very important thing today happened in the during the meeting. The Prime Minister, when he was speaking, he made it very clear that this election is all about Rahul Gandhi. Whether the Congress wants to project Rahul Gandhi as the Prime Ministerial candidate or not, and they have decided that they will not project him. But the Prime Minister made it very clear that victory for Congress party in the coming elections will mean victory for Rahul Gandhi. When he says something like that, when the Prime Minister says something like that, he was talking of victory, but defeat also will be his, right?
In a sense, you've got to see the Rahul situation today in parenthesis. There is the comment that Mrs. Gandhi made after the defeat in the 4 states,
right,
saying we will announce our prime ministerial candidate.
Right.
And then all of you were present
yes,
when the Prime Minister gave his press conference, which was quite sudden, and said, I am going to be Prime Minister right through this.
Right.
So he ruled himself up from stepping down. So in a sense, he is saying, I've done my duty, but he's also saying, I'm not to blame if you guys lose.
Exactly.
So he's sidestepped that issue. So in a very clever move, Prime Minister has said, I'm not to blame for your failure. If it's failure, then it's Rahul Baba who's failed.
Bhavdeep, wasn't that a very smart, calculated move on the part of the Prime Minister?
Absolutely, an absolutely strategic, tactical move by the Prime Minister. I would say that Sonia said that the party would announce its prime ministerial candidate. She didn't say when, before or after the election.
Okay, Jayanta, see, one is of course, today's when you look at the challenge, what are the challenges before Rahul Gandhi? When we look at his today's speech, he spoke about a very important and interesting thing. That about ideas. He says Congress is an idea, Congress is not just a party or a movement or whatever, it's an idea. Now that means that the onus is now on him to spread this idea. Do you think it is going to be easy for him?
It's a you can say it's a political marketing strategy.
Yes.
To sell a new brand.
Right.
Actually, Congress is an old Congress. But Rahul Gandhi, he is trying to project that he can bring a new Congress, the milieu of a new Congress. It's the idea, because the basic root was the Congress, it was a platform, and the alienation of the leadership has created all the regional parties, all the, in fact, Sonia ji also mentioned about the alienation from the middle class.
Right.
So, it's a some sort of introspection and corrective measures Rahul tried to project. And now you can say that these are the theoretical promises and selling an idea. It may not be, I mean, just before 3 months of election, how you will implement this idea. A lot of questions, lot of challenges, what actually the word you have mentioned, challenges, lot of challenges, because you cannot change the price rise inflation situation only by a speech of new ideas. Right. You have to, there is a policy paralysis, there is a lot of problem, practical problems. So, but Rahul is trying to give a message that he is the new, I mean the leader, new face who can change the anti-incumbency milieu. So, he is a salesman. He is a new salesman.
He is a new salesman. Bhavdeep, about this ideas issue.
Yes, if Rahul Gandhi...
This is really going to be a challenge for him to face, you know.
If Rahul Gandhi is selling ideas, then I would say Arvind Kejriwal has better ideas to sell. Everything that Rahul had talked about, transforming the politics in this country, inner party democracy, empowering youth and women, 1 year down the line, Arvind Kejriwal has already done all that. All the changes that you wanted to see, he has been the change that you wanted to see.
So, how does he, Dilip, this is interesting. Now, how does Rahul Gandhi position himself? One, there is this, you know, rampaging Narendra Modi on one side, and on the other hand, this Arvind Kejriwal phenomena. How does he differentiate himself from these two? Isn't that going to be the challenge which he is going to face?
He hasn't tried to.
He
hasn't tried to distinguish himself from Arvind Kejriwal. He's actually tried to occupy that ground by saying me too, because there are 4 P's that he played with this time, and one of those P's Arvind Kejriwal has not played with. The first P was power to the people. The second was people, which is linked to power, and the third was pradhans, and the fourth was primaries. So the pradhan part is something that Arvind Kejriwal hasn't quite got down to, but as far as primaries are concerned, maybe, you know, in a new party that's not an issue.
15, what he spoke about was that as an experiment they will try it out in 15 Lok Sabha constituencies, 15 out of the 542, 15 constituencies where they will have this kind of primaries. I mean, they're being very modest, I think. It's a very modest attempt. Jayanta?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's a very modest attempt. But actually what Dilip is saying, I have just only one thing is that the major problem of Rahul Gandhi, that you have to admit a fact, that the announcement of the prime ministerial candidate, or I mean without announcing him as a prime ministerial candidate, only the campaign committee chairmanship, what is the difference? I am saying you this because Congress leaders, they told me that they don't want to make it a presidential election. Race. And it will be a Modi versus Rahul fight, and what you are also saying, that Modi factor. So they don't want to make it and that schemes and all the social sector issues, it will be diluted, and it will be Modi versus Rahul centric. Whole media coverage will be Modi versus Rahul. But I am telling you one thing, that today Rahul Gandhi, his name has not been announced as a prime minister candidate. Now the opposition can say that you are afraid. You are not ready to accept the prime ministerial candidature, the challenge of prime minister. That is also another. So it's a very catch-22 situation.
No, today when he was talking, Rahul himself said about it. Sonia also spoke about it. The party has come out with a statement last night, why they are not doing it. Do you think that this will be convincing enough to the people that, you know, we believe in democratic politics, we believe in parliamentary democracy where members are elected by the people, and the members who are elected by the people will elect the leader. This is a fundamental rule of the game, no doubt. But will they be able to sell this idea?
Hello, Manmohan Singh was also elected by elected representatives, right?
No, he was not elected by. He was a Rajya Sabha MP, continues to be a Rajya Sabha MP. Yes.
And subsequent prime ministers of the Congress will similarly be nominated, unless it's Rahul Gandhi himself. I agree with Jayanta, the fact that he hasn't accepted the designation of prime ministerial candidate
Nominee.
denotes a lack of confidence, and the opposition is going
So
to
you are
use
not
that
buying.
to the
You are
hilt.
not buying their.
I'm not buying
You are not
it,
going to buy.
but I agree with what Dilip said earlier, that it makes absolute sense for Rahul Gandhi not to juxtapose himself with Modi and with Arvind Kejriwal, because he's a product of dynasty. Okay, he is a child of privilege. Okay, he is inexperienced, so he loses out on all three counts. It makes no sense for him to get into that competition.
Okay, Dilip, yes.
But he's also very cleverly, we talked about the Prime Minister having put him in a spot.
Yes.
He's put the Prime Minister in a spot. He's declared a 3-month program. He says, I'm going to go for legislative high-speed
Right.
passage. And he's stolen a sheet from what Bhavdeep talked about, the Aam Aadmi Party thing, saying, you go to Parliament and force people to pass these 6 bills. So he's telling the Karyakartas and he's telling therefore people, saying, go and stand outside Parliament and make sure these bills are passed, which those guys...
This is also a challenge to the opposition parties.
Second, no, but he also then turned it around to the Prime Minister saying, I want these bills passed, I want 12 cylinders of gas. So he is saying, I'm making my demands on the Prime Minister now because you are the Prime Minister, we've given you a clap, we've made sure you've been applauded, now 3 months time we're giving you to sort this out. So
Yeah.
I think, and the APMC, meaning the agricultural prices thing, which is his answer to inflation. So he's saying that I can't deal with everything just now, but this is my 3-month plan, I'm going to go hell for leather.
Yes, Bhavdeep.
This is not the first time that Rahul has put the Prime Minister in a spot. That ordinance on criminal
Yeah,
MPs
absolutely.
was a classic instance. So this is the Prime Minister's job.
No, but I want to move to the other issue, which is important, which is very interesting. Why he made a big deal out of the fact that lawmakers. He was trying to revisit the entire issue of what in this country a MP or a MLA means. He was saying that the MPs and MLAs have their role as lawmakers have completely been eroded. So that role needs to be revisited. They need to take that position which they have that as lawmakers. What was he trying to say? What was his intention behind this?
I think it was the most substantive and important thing that he said in his speech.
Absolutely.
The fact that lawmakers, whether they are MLAs or MPs, have been reduced to the role of municipal councillors.
Right.
And we need to move away from that if we want to raise the level of debate in Parliament.
Which is a strike it up.
It is.
Saying that those ministers are going and doing implementing.
Right.
And on top of that, he introduced the pradhans. So he made 3 levels of...
3 levels,
and
MPs,
he's-
MLAs and pradhans.
And in the same breath, struck at media and the judiciary. He said, you can't let laws be made by media.
Exactly.
And you can't let
And
laws...
on the streets.
And on the streets. So he was striking it up without naming them.
And again, he is selling a dream of good governance.
He's selling a dream of good governance. No, the essential thing, as Bhavdeep rightly points out, this was a very important. We have not heard this from any other political leader in the last several years about the way the erosion of the role of the elected representatives right at the top and at the middle level, the MLAs. You think that this is something which he will be able to sell, and is this something which can gain votes in any case?
Actually, that is the, very difficult question, because in a country like India, the huge population, highly pluralistic, caste-driven, complicated, and it's too late also for Congress, because the anti-incumbency is so strong, and after 10 years, anti-incumbency is not a very, new thing in Indian politics. It's a law of nature. And price rise, inflation, these are always the weapon of opposition. When Congress was in opposition, they also used this weapon. So I think whether it will be translated into vote or not, that has to be seen. That answer is still, it is not clear.
Bhavdeep, you think that this is something which it's an original thing, which it's the only original thing. If you can say in today's
Precisely.
speech about that.
Yes.
How is this? How is this? Is this something which he is talking about only at the short-term 2014 elections in view, or is this something going to be a bigger? Is this going to be one of the challenges, a long-term challenge for him to see that the elected representatives get their due role?
It's clearly he's thinking long term. In fact, if you see a lot of Rahul's ideas are very good if they can be implemented, but these are all long term ideas. And I would say that now, let's face it, the Congress prospects in the short term, in the next 3 months, are not very good. But this is a mixed blessing because it gives Rahul the opportunity to seize the moment and to implement the changes that he has been talking about, without worrying about short-term losses.
No, but one thing, the state-wise organization, how you will reach to the mass in the rural India through this message, there are a lot of factors, selection of candidates.
Yes.
I mean, the result of the election, it's not only a speech can change the whole milieu.
Okay. Meanwhile, we are joined in now by Professor Balveer Arora, former chairman of the Center for Political Studies at the JNU. Welcome, Professor Arora. Today's Rahul's speech, what are the challenges you think that he has himself put forward for himself for the short term Lok Sabha elections in mind and in the long term?
I think he's clearly given a message to the party that he is not going to go down without a fight, and this is
He said he used the word warriors. We will all. There's a battle and we'll be warriors.
Yeah, this is not because he came to a party which had been demoralized by the last showing. And so this was what it needed, a morale booster and a sort of indication.
You think it was a morale booster? His speech was a morale booster, at least for the rank and file of the party.
Yes, I think they saw a combative Rahul, and I think this is what they were waiting for. It's like a beehive. All the cells are there, but then the substance goes out, and then suddenly it starts humming, and that was I think the energizing factor, where he announced certain things for the party. Of course, but those will take time. But the bigger message I see is that he was telling them that this is not over, the fight is not over.
The fight is not over, we are in the fight. He is trying to give that confidence to his cadre and the rank and file that the fight is on. And another thing before I come to the contrasting, one thing which Sonia Gandhi's speech today, she made this very interesting and important, statement saying that the 2014 elections, the April-May elections are going to be between contrasting ideologies. You think that the Congress party will be able to market this whole thing in this short 3 months that it's actually going to be a battle of ideologies?
Well, I think the big idea that she put forward, and there can be opinions on that, is whether secularism and the communal divide, the cleavage, is still a cementing factor. Maybe for the regional parties, for some of those who look at their own basis, it has proved to be in the past that they cross over. But I think we have to look at it from the strategic point of view. It does divide the AAP party.
It does divide the AAP?
Yes.
Aam
in the
Aadmi
sense
party.
that the India against coalition corruption movement has already split between those who have gone with the BJP and those who have stayed on the other side. So I think from that point of view, it's a useful point to put forward.
Bhavdeep, what do you think of this? Do you agree with Professor Arora that there was a strategic content in that statement of Sonia Gandhi, which Rahul also spoke about in his talking of ideas, dividing people. We don't divide people, we bring people together and things like that. Is this good? Are they going to push this election as a secular versus communal thing? Is it still a sellable idea?
Before the assembly elections, they were on the same plank.
Yes.
They had two main ideas. One was communalism, attack Modi. The other was populism, right? Give as many handouts as possible. So they had the same strategy then, they have the same strategy now. The interesting thing is that I think that they've moved beyond the mere communalism, populism and regionalism, that would be a reference to creating Telangana, to a new agenda. Now they're seriously talking about targeting corruption by bringing in this whole raft of anti-corruption bills. They're seriously talking about youth, about giving representation to women. He hinted at that in his speech today.
In fact, you could see Sonia Gandhi laughing away when he said that 50% of the chief ministers have to be women, actually.
Yes.
Yes, Dilip.
He also created today a new class.
Yes.
He says those above the poverty line and those below the middle class.
Below the middle.
So he started talking about a new class.
Yes, he said,
which is people who have escaped poverty and who are in danger of falling
there
back.
was targeting the middle class. He also told that we will bring you to the level of middle class in 5 years.
That's right.
So no, that's one thing. Then coming to the other very important issue, Jayanta, I would like you to address this. Prime Minister in his speech said, if we publicize our achievements, we will do well in the elections. And also then Rahul Gandhi had this pretty original thing saying that the opposition parties can sell combs to the baldies, things like that. See, here there are one message. You tell me, when he is telling that the opposition can sell combs to baldies, he is actually giving them a backhanded compliment and admitting the fact that they have not been able to sell even their own achievements.
Yeah, actually, Prime Minister, he thinks that Congress party should campaign for the UPA development schemes, whatever they have achieved. That's a Prime Minister's personal feeling also. He shared it to the other Congress leaders also, that criticizing Manmohan Singh and selling Rahul Gandhi, that cannot be the right approach of the Congress party before election.
You think that was what the Prime Minister was trying to hint?
Prime Minister thinks that the success of UPA regime also can be election campaign inputs.
Right.
That Prime Minister thinks. But what Bhavdeep is saying, that two things, that communalism, if you focus your campaign on communalism and nationalism, this debate, Congress for nationalism and BJP for communalism, if this is the campaign of Congress, then your development issues,
they will get left out.
The inclusivist, socialist, whatever you are saying, that pro-Aam Admi, I don't know that what should be the Congress focus, because if you want
Dilip,
to focus
I'll come to you about it. Dilip,
You
you think the Congress is in a dilemma on this? As a man who understands selling ideas, you think that the Congress has failed in selling its own achievements?
I think,
and is that going to be one of the biggest challenges of Rahul Gandhi?
There's no doubt that the Congress has had more achievements than it is taken claim for. It hasn't even staked a claim to some of its achievements. Talking about selling combs to baldies,
yes.
It was clearly an original and convoluted joke, because he then talked about selling barber shops to baldies,
yes.
okay, which was a hit it up. Okay, but the point was that, having decried marketing, he started his own marketing,
right.
which is again very smart, because you first say that, and you hint that both Modi as well as Kejriwal are expert marketers, which they are.
So he's actually complimenting them.
He's complimenting them, and then he's saying, but I'm not going to market, I'm going to do things, so which is the best marketing, because at the end of the day, as everyone knows, it's product that sells and not marketing.
You should know that better than anybody else. Very quickly, Bhavdeep, we're completely
I have a limited response
yes.
to what Jayanta said. The major successes of the UPA, whether it's RTI or it's NREGA, have to do with Sonia Gandhi and not with the Prime Minister.
That is what you think, and unfortunately the Prime Minister, I'm sure, thinks that he has also had a role in it. Professor Arora, very quickly, last words. What is the biggest challenge which Rahul Gandhi will face in these next 3 months when he goes to the Lok Sabha elections?
Well, I think he has a party which is willing to listen, which is crying for leadership, and which is not therefore going to oppose him on this. I think he has an easier role.
So he has that advantage, and now it's up to him how he galvanizes the party.
Absolutely.
Okay. On that note, I think we need to end. How Rahul Gandhi will galvanize the party, which is now seems to be fully behind him. That will be his biggest challenge. We'll wait and watch how he will take up this task. Thanks to all my guests, Professor Balveer Arora, Dilip, Cherian, Bhavdeep, Kang, and Jayanta, Ghoshal. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue in the big picture, same time on Monday. Meanwhile, have a great weekend.